You're on.
Recorder on.
No, it isn't.
Slide the button up, yeah. Yeah, turn it on.
So I got nothing on the display.
Yeah, you gotta pull the button, turn it on.
But someone knows how to do that.
Takes a minute, unfortunately. You just put your batteries in, so I know though. Don't know why it's not turning on. Guess we'll go without the recording, so I get it working.
So we're all set?
You just put it back. Yep, go ahead.
Good morning. I'd like to call to order the Board of Selectmen's meeting for Monday, October 26th. I'd like to read you the following instructions. You can also listen via telephone to this meeting. It's toll-free 1-877-309-2073, access code 996-433-941. Please note that you'll be able to interact during public input using the online service. However, you will only be able to listen to the meeting via telephone. If you have any issues attending this meeting electronically, using the aforementioned instructions, please call area code 603-569-5903. We're also being taped by Joe Kowalski for YouTube. The first order of business is to please stand. Bill, will you lead us in the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First order of business is any public input. Anybody on the phone? Morning, Chief. Second order of business is to review and approve past minutes. First bunch of minutes are for October 16th, the 9:30 Selectmen's work session. I have no issues.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Next item is Selectmen's non-public meetings for October 16th at 11:10. I have no changes.
I will move approval.
I'll second the discussion.
Go ahead, sir.
I'm not convinced that we need to seal these.
After we approve them, I'll let you entertain a motion to unseal.
Okay.
At the bottom of the page, it says seal them. You made a motion to seal it.
Right.
You want to unseal them, correct, Chip?
Well, I guess I want to talk about it.
Sure.
I'm wondering what in the minutes is controversial or,
I don't know whether anything is,
yeah, it seems pretty.
but we seal them and then we can make the
Yeah,
determination
I appreciate that.
to unseal.
The first motion is to whether you accept the minutes as presented.
Yep.
The motion's made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
3-0. Do you have
I'm gonna make a motion that the minutes are be unsealed.
I'll second that.
any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0.
To that, maybe sometime in December, in one of our meetings, we can review the sealed minutes that we've accumulated
Yep.
and
Yep.
clean that up. We've done that pretty regularly.
Yep, I know that you went through and put them in 2 piles, and then I did, and then Bill did, and it seemed to be a good system, so.
But it just makes it, I think it makes it easier for the office, because when they have a 91A, it's not
Yeah,
trying to figure out what's.
and I know in past years, this board and previous boards have tried to, on at least annual basis, do those things so they don't build up. The next minutes are for Monday, October 19th at 9 a.m.
I'll make a motion that we accept.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion passes 3-0. Last, Thursday, October 22nd, it was a workman's session with the architects.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes 3-0. Any other minutes to discuss? Let's get into our appointments. And guess who came through the door? Hi, Chief, how you doing? Come on down.
Send it to you.
I'm sorry. Awesome, thank you very much.
Joe, good to see you back.
Okay. We've currently had 159 fire calls, 224 medical calls, 37 service calls, and 8 special details totaling for 428 for the year. 40 gas burner inspections, 5 oil burner inspections, 6 wood pellet stove inspections, 22 life safety for a total of 73. Captain Pike and firefighter paramedic Skip Galvin has worked with Ryan Gilpatrick, who is the principal of Tuftonboro Central School. They went through the fire station, made a video for fire safety days, as we could not physically be in the school due to the pandemic. And all of the children almost have been able to see this video at which was shown by the school as far as it goes for Fire Safety Day. We also, as we always do, we have given fire safety supplies to the school to give to each child as we do every year. Hopefully this pandemic will be over soon, and at some point in time we can get back to normal and for the different things. The department has had 2 members that have turned in their resignation due to either health or personal reasons. There were 2 large calls that the department has responded to. One was Sunday, 10/18, at approximately 8:22 a.m. 911 received a call for a medical emergency at the Ledge Trail on Canyon Mountain. A hiker became ill while hiking the trail. Tuftonboro Fire Rescue, Tuftonboro PD, Stewart's Ambulance, Ospey Corner Fire Department, along with Fish and Game responded. And at approximately 09:45 a.m., a group of fire, EMS, personnel, and conservation officers made contact with the patient approximately 0.6 miles from the trailhead. EMS personnel was able to confirm that the subject was having a cardiac event. At 10 a.m., the subject was packaged into a stretcher and was carried down the trail by fire, EMS, and conservation officers to a waiting UTV. He was transported to the trailhead parking lot, where he was loaded to Stewart's Ambulance for transport to Wentworth Douglas Hospital. We attempted to call for a helicopter for transport, which is standard operating procedures in a case where it's a confirmed cardiac event with that time period. However, they couldn't fly because all the different helicopters were basically fogged in the different areas. Working with medical control at Clemens Hospital, it was decided that it would be best for the patient to transport him directly to Wentworth Douglas. Okay. In this event, it is a good reminder to know where you are hiking and the name of the trails that you're on. Having this information allowed responding personnel to reach the patient quickly, administrate medical care as needed. The information also expedited efforts and increased the possibility of a positive outcome. In a case like this, it's not unlikely that we were like 2 hours before the patient was actually into the ambulance by the time he gets out and they found him. So time is heart muscle, or whatever as far as with injuries. On Friday, October 16th, at 0004 a.m., Engine 2 and 3 personnel responded to a second alarm structure fire at 26 Middleton Road in Wolfboro. On 10/13, 2020, Engine 4 went to the Lakes Region Fire Apparatus for its routine yearly maintenance and state inspection. While the apparatus was being serviced there, the oil drain plug was broke off. It had seized up, and for some reason, when they tried to take it out, it broke off. This oil drain plug had to be shipped from Detroit, Michigan, and which meant the apparatus, which is housed at the Mirror Lake Station, was out of service for approximately a week. It was noted by the public that there was no fire apparatus at the Mirror Lake Station. The question was asked on the Tuppenboro Free Speech Forum on Facebook why there was no engine at the station. A reminder was given that the fire department has only 3 Class A engines with no reserve unit if something happens to one of them. This would be why no engine was put in its place. A Class A engine is kept at each station to keep most of the town within 5 miles of the fire station with a Class A engine. And I say most because the islands obviously can't be reached by the engines without a boat. And there are certain parts of Caney Valley that are beyond the 5 miles for that. In the future, the department can look at keeping the engine when it is replaced for backup. Otherwise, it would cost between $470,000 to $600,000 for a 4 Class A engine. We received $9,825.39 in reimbursement from the Gopher Fund for supplies and equipment that was used so far this year due to the coronavirus. These funds will go back into the emergency management budget. These funds would not have been received back without the hard work of our 7-hour-a-week administrative assistant, Rhonda Thompson. She had to go through all of the receipts, actually enter them into the computer, into a program that the state has. This is our file so far on that had to be entered. They then had to be broke down into different areas as far as the different stuff. So it is time consuming. Now we'll be working with Diane so that she can put all of that stuff, everything, patch everything up in work, everything back into the budget that was reimbursed, so that if the auditor comes through, that we have everything in the correct categories. The fire department now has a disinfectant sprayer that we have been waiting for since the beginning of the pandemic, and that would be this electrostatic gun. We have been using it at the central station and on the apparatus where needed to disinfect as we go along. And as we get more used to it, we can disinfect other areas if needed, within the town properties. As chairman of the Ospey Valley Mutual Aid Association, I have been working with Carroll County Sheriff's Office and dispatch and the Ospey Mountain Electronics as the 3 phases of radio upgrades are being completed. The E-line and all the equipment have been installed in the Tuftonboro Central Station to make the radio system better for emergency communications as a repeater site. The system is in the testing phase to find any problems or dead areas in towns that are part of the Ospey Valley Mutual Aid Association. This grant upgrade will be a big improvement on communications, but will need further testing and equipment at other repeater sites to make communications better. It won't be 100% solve our problems, but it's going to be much better than we've had. Some of the portable radios that are scheduled to be replaced in the town in 2021 have started to fail and cannot be fixed due to the parts are no longer supported by Motorola. The floors at the central station have been stripped and re-waxed. There was an issue with the re-waxing, and the company completing the work advised they were not going to charge for the work that was completed. They will not be able to reschedule the project until late December. So as far as in my budget, there will be money that was left that was slated for that project that they had not charged for.
So will they subsequently charge for when they get the job done?
When they get the job done, then correctly, it will be charged for.
So we should carry that money forward into.
Right.
Yeah, if it's not completed before the end of the year. Right.
Okay.
There was an issue apparently with the wax separator, which they said that they've only seen once in 20 years. But for some reason, I think with our station, this will be the second group of people that we've had come in, and for some reason, when it comes to the final waxing, there's issues. So it's whether it's a tough building to do, I'm not sure what the situation is, or if it has something to do with the radiant heat in the floors and stuff like that. There will be a propane emergency training that is going to be held at the Tuftonboro Central Station in 2 parts. The classroom part will be 11:05, and the live training will be 11:07. This will be sponsored by the White Mountain Oil and Propane. We have invited other departments from the mutual aid to attend this training. And I've been working on all the department and emergency management ambulance budgets. I'm still waiting for some of the pricing to come in for the budget. Okay.
And when do you expect that to be in?
I'm hoping to have everything for you. I think that something was mentioned about the 31st at one point in time, but I'll try to get everything done this week.
The 30th, I think,
Yes,
is,
sir.
so we decided with the idea that we can work on them on election day.
Yeah.
Now, this emergency training on propane, that's for emergency responders, not for the general public.
That's correct. Yeah. It's actually, so the Thursday night we'll be going over everything as far as classroom-wise, and on Saturday they will actually be going out, putting out propane fires that will be there. They'll actually hook up a tree to a bobtail, which is one of the propane trucks that you see delivering, and feed the bobtail will actually be this big, like Christmas tree type thing, a fire where the firefighters actually go up and try to put it out and then shut off the propane. So
Hopefully nobody gets hurt.
yes, everything will be monitored to make sure that there's no issues.
You've had this type of training in the past, right?
We have some Some of us have traveled to the Fire Academy in Massachusetts for it, and others have been to other areas in the past as far as to do that.
I'd like to ask the board about one thing. Is it appropriate for the selectmen to send a letter of thank you to the 2 people who served the town and then have resigned? Can we have Kathy get the names and how many years they served? I think it's a nice way for us to say thank you. Do it.
And as we had told them that if anything changes, then they're more than welcome to come back. They left on good terms.
That's great.
Do you have anything further?
The only thing I want to come back to is you mentioned the possibility of keeping a piece of apparatus as being retired as a backup piece at some point in the future. And in my mind, the kinds of things that go into that sort of a decision include how often and for how long we're in a situation where a piece of apparatus isn't available, the ongoing cost of keeping an old piece as a backup, that sort of thing. Not saying we should, not saying we shouldn't, but when you start evaluating that, all of those things kind of come into the mix, in my mind, because of course we can keep old stuff around forever, and that doesn't necessarily. Yeah, exactly.
Obviously, we haven't had a piece of apparatus so far that we could keep. One, because the town had said that it needed to go away. And that at every town meeting, that has been something that someone has brought up. We're going to do away with this, correct? However, we've stuff that has gone away is either had frame issues or something that there was a reason why you would want to keep it for a backup. Obviously, there is different standards for backup apparatus versus your frontline pieces. So something that is not used on a daily basis, 100% of your frontline pieces can be older than the stuff that you use daily. So, and to be your reserve piece. So, but I would think that obviously, as you said, you need to take into account how much it's going to cost you in the long run to maintenance something. So.
Yeah, and what the benefit is, which is to say, okay, here's when we don't have apparatus available, and I'm guessing even if you have it in service as a backup, when the other apparatus isn't available, there are some calls that you say, that's going to be the backup. We're still going to run the frontline piece out first.
Right.
So how often do we have an event that would need 3 pieces of apparatus out?
Right.
And that sort of thing, so. Yeah.
But to make you aware, the general public obviously is paying attention, that they are looking to make sure that
That's all.
there is protection in
Looking through the windows.
they're part of the town.
Yep.
That was something, obviously we're thinking about the protection in different parts of the town, but obviously we have nothing to move to that point. And I did not, was not thinking that to get that information out there originally, because to us, it was just something that we deal on a daily basis, that the truck is going to be out of service for a week. But for future reference, we'll make sure that that is stated somewhere, so that the public does know.
Well, in fairness, you've been busy operationally.
So that you're not surprised by someone asking you a question.
Well, it sounds to me like you guys handle it well. I mean, you can't, my mind, you don't want to spend a lot of time anticipating potential questions that somebody might ask at some point in time. The question gets asked, you engage it, and get the information out there. And that's a good approach. Thanks, Chief.
Thank you. Be safe.
Awesome, thank you.
fun.
Under action items, one of them is transfer station, and we're waiting for Clay to come in at 10 o'clock. Can I skip over to signature file?
Sure.
Okay. First item is permanent application for tax exemption. This is veterans tax credit.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Today's the 26th. Okay, pass that down. While you're signing that, the next item is for me to sign, and it's a block of time labor only agreement from Cybertron Network and IT Solutions.
We already approved that, correct?
You voted to do that.
I'm sorry?
Yes, you did vote to do
Okay,
that. It's just
so
a second.
I'll move that we have the chairman sign the agreement.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion passes 3-0. Next is for map and lot 56-3-1. Is this yield tax? Yes. In the amount of $5,826.46.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Put those all on the red, pass them around.
If we've got a minute, can we do the estimated revenue?
I don't have it. Same.
I can look.
That was last week.
Huh? There's just one copy?
No, he just left that from last week.
No, we changed it.
Right. So,
Oh,
was Diane coming up to meet with us today to set the
I don't
tax
know,
rate?
she stuck something in your
I have-
folder, so
I have the,
Yeah, I have
You
my
didn't get-
copy.
she didn't mention it to me.
All right.
yes.
Do you want
You
me to
didn't
call
get a
her
copy?
to come up?
You didn't get a copy?
Might be in the yellow folder.
Oh, I'm sorry, there is one here, yep.
Okay.
I apologize for that, yep.
Do you need her to come forward? I can call her up.
No, this is just a revised
Right.
estimate of the revenue.
You know, two items that changed around a little bit. One was DRA advised not to reduce the payment in lieu of taxes. We reduced it to 9,000. And they didn't like that, so it's back to $16,019. The other change was the addition of the money come in for the cemetery corner posts and welfare reimbursements of $2,116. She did verify the rooms and meals, which was not 123,000, but 122,610. The long and the short of it is that we went from a subtotal of 1,292,799 to 1,291,847, which is a reduction of $952, which brings our total from changing from 1,297,799 to 1,296,847, which is a reduction of $952. So our new total estimated revenues is $1,296,847, and I'll move that we accept that.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0.
Back to Diane, I thought she was coming so that we could set the tax rate. But I don't know if that's actually happening. We need to do it though. sooner
We
or
do,
later.
yes, we do.
Sooner than later.
I thought it wasn't, I thought.
When I
DRA
spoke with Diane about it, when was it? I think it was Friday, she indicated that DRA had said they were waiting, they'd been waiting for something from the school district.
Yeah.
I talked with the chairman of the school board yesterday, and he said that the school district had sent that information to the state on September 15th.
Yeah.
So he was a little agitated that they'd kind of shift the blame for their delay on another government agency. But
Yeah, when the actual problem is legislative and government. I mean, at some point in time, they're gonna have to fully staff these places. So
Well,
they can
and-
actually get something done.
yeah, and I think the coronavirus is a convenient excuse for the people that are there not
It's-
working full-time.
It's no different than DES. I mean, we're struggling with the
Union Ward.
Union Wharf
Lake Street.
project and the Lake Street project,
Yep,
premised upon something, but I think the something is the lack of staffing at DES to actually deal with this.
The bottom line is, can a call be made to Diane when we're
I
done?
think I'll stop, but you're leaving, right, aren't you, tomorrow?
I'm out of here first light tomorrow, before first light, so if we
Okay.
can get it later today, that's fine, but
Let's try to get it done today.
I'll stop after the meeting. The complication is that it's not something we can do individually, we have
No,
to do it
we gotta-
together, because
right.
I think we're gonna have to take some money out of the undesignated fund balance to try to work the tax rate. And
Yeah.
that requires discussion.
yep.
All right.
Is it appropriate to have a phone call made so that at the end of our meeting, we can meet with her, even if it means going down there?
Sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's fine.
Anything else in the signature file?
I don't know, you've got the signature file.
Okay. Under correspondence. I pulled some things out that, of general correspondence, but Steve Wingate has requested that as there's a transition to the new secretary, he'd like to keep Linda on the payroll for a limited time to assist with the transition. This is to the Tufton Borough Selectmen, reference internet. Mr. Shinguegrana says, "Thank you very much for getting back to me. I just hope when you say all Tufton Borough residents, they do in fact include the residents who live on the islands on Lake Winnipesaukee. In these negotiations, the town of Tufton Borough ensures the island residents equal access to broadband internet. Access to high-speed broadband internet is not an issue of convenience, but rather an issue of safety. Thank you again, and I know that you're working on that shit."
Well, I know we talked about it last week, so
Yeah.
it is what it is.
Yes.
The islands are an issue. There are a lot of other areas in town that don't have access to high-speed internet as well.
The Department of Revenue Administration, Philip Boswell, has, in accordance with their rules and regulations, has reviewed the uniform standards of professional appraisal practice and found that we're in good shape. Department of Environmental Services sent a letter to museum lodges and there was a question about wetland permit, and they've asked response within 20 days. There's several things here from Rick Highland. about RSA, about broadband.
Right.
And there's an RSA on that. To the Tuftonboro, this is a thank you note, to the Tuftonboro Town employees and Board of Selectmen, thank you so much for the planter, it was beautiful. Thank you for all your patience with me as a new employee during the difficult time, I'm truly grateful. Our prayers go out to Priscilla Keaton and the family, she lost her mother. Our condolences. The other things are just perfunctory correspondence. Bet you someone's coming in. Hi, Clyde.
Oh,
Hey, take your time, but come on down.
okay.
You got action items too?
Action items, yes. We'll be reviewing the transfer station in a moment, Parks and Rec budget, Ag Commission budget, landfill monitoring bids. There's, take your time, Clyde. There's, received the 19th. Dear Chairman Wood, respectfully requesting that you consider joining city and county leaders across the country in officially recognizing January 24th to 30th as School Choice Week in Tuftonboro. You folks read that paperwork?
Okay, no.
I'll pass that down to you to read. Next is from Jane Farini about New Hampshire school funding, municipal and school leader reprise. Are there any communities that are interested in exploring the possibility of hiring a lobbyist available to have a Zoom conversation hosted by Portsmouth on Tuesday, October 27th at 2 p.m.? Have you folks read that memo?
I did,
Yeah.
and my recommendation would be to wait until the election's over. I don't understand what Tuesday's lobbyist is going to accomplish. We really need to figure out how this legislature is going to be laid out, and what direction that seems to be moving.
There's also a Zoom meeting scheduled for Tuesday, October 27th to talk about education funding issues for the next year, work of the Commission on Education Funding and town participation to date, formation of a new coalition of potential donor towns, and discussion of issues related to hiring a lobbyist.
Looks like I'm down where you are, which is a week from now. It's a week from now? Yeah, week from tomorrow, we're gonna have a better clue as to what the landscape in state government is like. And that's gonna inform a lot of where town efforts need to be focused in terms of addressing the issue.
Yeah, I think I can wait. I'm not, are you asking us to sign on to that school choice?
No, I'm telling you that was correspondence.
Yeah.
I haven't done any research on it.
Yeah, I'm not, it'd have to be an
I'm not against it, but I just
It'd have to be
can't
an
speak
awfully
intelligently.
signing job for me to sign on to it.
Well, I know your family already has choice because you transport them how many miles in a day?
We're exercising choice.
Right.
Yeah, that's not the question, I don't think, in that particular forum.
Excuse me, Clay, a couple people have come in. Could we ask the police department to come down? Good morning, sir, how are you?
What? Just had to go return the drugs and drug take-backs. That was 47 pounds, the weight at the site now.
Is that about the average?
It's a little more, but I kind of expected more because we didn't have a spring take-back, so.
I was gonna bring you some, I just couldn't couldn't let go. Next item. Oh, really? Oh, that's young, John, I'm sorry.
Let's see, we've got, motor vehicle stops are up quite a bit, and summonses. The rest are about the same, although I think we're seeing a little more DUIs this year than we've had in the year or two in the past. There's also a few arrests here that aren't showing up because they were warrants from other agencies. So we had to pick the person up and transfer them over, so.
Are those warrants information, public information,
Uh,
or not at this time?
I guess it is.
Well, that's it's like a 65% increase in vehicle stops.
Yeah.
So that's good news.
A lot of that has to do with, we've got a full year of so far we're 4 officers for the year. I mean, it's enabled some more free time versus last year where it wasn't until August where really we were at 4 officers. No, later than that. It was almost this time before we were 4 officers last year. By the time Officer Gillis got done her FTO and everything, it was about this time.
So felonies are up as well. Is that-
Slightly, yes.
Is the occurrence of the felonies are up, or multiple felonies in one occurrence, or how's that working for you?
I honestly couldn't tell you.
Okay.
I don't
It's
see
not a
any.
crime spree, hopefully.
No, I mean, we did have felony theft at a construction site a few weeks back. So we've had a few things, but nothing, I don't think there's like a crime spree going on. So,
There's only 9 for the year, I'll say that for the
yeah,
public consumption. It's not,
the 7 to 9, all it takes is one blip and you've got it. When you have a number of 7, it doesn't take much to
push the
see a big number change.
Right.
And nothing stands out as to, I don't think we've had a huge increase in, one of the things that has happened though is we've had cases that have kind of sat for a while because there's been no grand juries, no trials. They're starting a few of the trials, but it's not many, and they're still working the kinks out, and I suspect if we see an increase, then maybe
yeah.
we haven't seen too many, we don't have a lot of cases anyways, per se, but starting to see some motions being filed over that in some other places, so it could be a
What about
Problem.
speeding trials?
speed trial issues. And,
Okay.
indictments, there's been no indictments since February, because there's been no grand jury until just a few weeks ago. So expect to see some motions coming through that. And the other, I guess, I did put hours out for Halloween, but it's not meant to encourage it so much as we have very limited powers to prohibit it per se. I mean, it's a voluntary act by people. There's no particular. I did go to the Municipal Association site. There is I think it'd be strange for us to use it if we were one of the towns that had a huge influx of cases. We could possibly, under a public health initiative, say no, but it's very, I think, strained. I don't think there'll be as many people doing it. I don't think there'll be as many places doing it, but I kept his hours the same and whatever. It always struck me as funny that they were contacting me for the hours when it's really, I don't know if there's a legal authority for me to set hours per se. So, but anyway, we did put it out there, but when I did put it out, I also said, these are the guys, to the school and I posted on our Facebook, these are the guidelines recommended by CDC and the state. cloth masks with your mask,
Right.
cloth masks preferred, no direct contact, don't let people in your house get candy, put the candy out in the basket, let them take it, that sort of a thing. Or, I know one chain of hardware stores showing how to make like a chute to deliver candy.
Nice.
Well, just using a piece of drain pipe. And
Yeah.
in fact, the
Can you
state,
just throw it in?
you could probably do that too.
Yeah.
But the state had some ideas on that on their website too, so it is Saturday the 31st, 5 to 7. Depending upon the weather, we will do it outside the PD,
Yeah.
but we won't do it because people aren't coming in.
Okay.
We're not gonna have close
And
contact.
you coordinated with Dennis on whatever he's got planned for Halloween.
I think Dennis said,
What's
no
that?
trunk or treat, right? The school said no.
We had a meeting with the PTO, and they can't formally get involved with it. They did say as parents they could help. We ended up only getting 2 of them, so with the rise in the pandemic, with the lack of volunteers, and I bet you the lack of kids, we canceled.
Yeah.
So last year we had, I think we had 13 different stations. Everything from,
Yeah.
hay rides to pumpkin carving to whatever, and it went really good, but unfortunately we thought it was best.
And you may have heard, Chief, that we've got an election that's gonna happen next Tuesday.
Tuesday?
Yeah, Tuesday.
Yes.
What
Yes.
is, you feel you're fully prepared for that? I know there's been some, I don't know that it's been in New Hampshire, I don't think it has been, but there was some legal maneuvering that was demanding the right to bear arms at the polling sites.
So I did have a call last week with the AG's office. It was a conference call for law enforcement. And I know I've talked to Dan Barnard, our moderator, about it. And it was in the paper today, I believe, about the hotline numbers for the state, the hotline number for the U.S. Attorney, but we cannot ban guns of any flavor at the polls. If it becomes an intimidation issue, then we might be able to do something, but if somebody is just carrying one, we cannot.
I thought we had, it's a school still,
Doesn't matter.
doesn't matter. Okay.
That's why the school district shuts down, because it's been going on. New Durham and Effingham for years have been using the schools, and because of a ruling by the Attorney General's office and the U.S. Attorney, they have ruled that we're allowed, that first off, if there is a crime, it's federal, so it'd have to be the U.S. Attorney's office to handle it. And secondly, there's exceptions to the gun-free school zone that may or may not apply to New Hampshire. So it's allowed. Obviously there are other issues, things that come up like voting. If somebody wears, like they have a candidate's name on a mask or a shirt, what to do about that was discussed. I know I talked to Dan. Dan got the same message. The moderators got the same stuff. Hopefully we don't have a thing like in, was it Exeter, where somebody had a candidate's shirt and they were told not to wear it.
So they took it off?
They took it off.
Even that candidate pants on.
Yeah. What we were told was that we were told to talk to them about it. The big key is they want to make sure everybody that wants to vote can vote without interference. So they'll deal with it later if they have to. The Attorney General's office will. And I've talked to Dan about that and what his plans are.
And the issue with wearing candidate identification
It's electioneering.
paraphernalia is electioneering, right?
It's against the law or electioneering within a polling place. You wear it outside, and once you come into the location where actual voting is being done, it's considered electioneering. Those complaints are dealt with by the Attorney General's office anyways, so.
And I don't know that we're gonna run into the problem of poll watchers, but I'm sure other places might. Are we prepared for how to deal with that?
Well, I don't know what Dan's plan is for that, but they said that
We've had them in the past, we've dealt with them in the past, so.
They're not generally
And
fully armed.
this is a public event and it has to be done in a public access, and there's no restrictions on who can say they want to watch it.
No, I'm not saying we should put restrictions on it, just, I'm not a fan of voter intimidation. so
Right. Well,
Have some sort of protocol there.
crosses that line, and then we have something to deal with, but
Yeah,
just a number of people being there, and even if they're carrying guns or whatever, we can't say anything about that if they're not doing anything to intimidate people. They have to have a 10-foot clear path to the voting. Beyond that, it can't be interfered or intimidated, but that's the Attorney General's office is who we would be deferring to if need be, unless it was got to disorderly conduct or something like that.
and has your executive assistant started working?
We are still doing the background.
How long is that gonna take?
Hopefully not long. It'll be,
I mean, I thought she had part of that done. That was our initial discussion.
that is correct, by a state agency, which means we have to go through some hurdles to get to that. It's done, for the most part, and we could just look at that and update it for sense, but we have to get down to the right people to say yes, and yes. It should be once we get a hold of the right person. Unfortunately, the staff we need to get a hold of are part-time, I guess, from what I've been told.
Right, well, we've had that discussion a couple of times here this
Yeah,
morning.
they're working from home, right?
Yeah, they're either working from home or part-time, and
Yeah.
so trying to get a hold of somebody to actually go to their physical location, look at some of their file, is a little challenging,
Right,
I guess, but
right,
we're working on it. It should, once we can do that, it should be pretty quick, but
yeah. I'm looking forward to a fully functioning state government, but I don't think that's gonna happen anytime soon.
well, and also what we're finding with evidence and other things, because of the revenue shortfalls and projected shortfalls, they're not filling open positions. So, like, for example, with evidence, we're still waiting for some blood tests to come back because they're not filling forensic positions. They're not filling other positions. The governor has agreed to fill police standards and training council positions because they are about 25% below what they used to be. And not only are they below what they used to be, they're now taking on additional responsibilities given the recommendations of the Accountability
Right,
Commission, so they're below staff and they're given more responsibilities, plus just to run the academy now has some additional burdens because of COVID. So they're it's on a case-by-case basis, but I'm seeing, like I say, if somebody leaves, they're not necessarily be able to fill a position, so.
I have one thing I'd like to ask.
Yeah,
I want to be as appropriate and professional in my request. Could we have the job performance reviews sometime?
yeah,
Thank you. Please understand that.
yeah, I understand.
Okay. Thank you for your understanding.
Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
is the new cruiser in service?
It's scheduled November 15th. We finally, last week, got our last component that we had to get. And they are, the place outfitting is still waiting for a few things to come in, but they should have them by November 15th, they said.
So that's what it's going to.
That's when it's going to them. It should take a week or so to get done.
So we're looking at first of December?
Probably the last week of November. It goes to 15th, it should be back that week.
There's also a couple holidays in November.
Yeah, but I mean, the COVID has shut down some of the plants to make stuff and cut into the shipping, so I can't, like I said, I checked with them, when the final part came in, I contacted them saying, where are you at? And their schedule is the 15th is when they could get to it.
I want to go back to your stats.
Okay.
Accidents are up this year almost 40%. Any insight into that? I mean, I know that initially with the COVID, driving was down.
Driving was down. I think we're seeing some. Nothing that stands out in my mind.
Is it more people from out of the area, or more local folks?
I don't think the mix has been different. Nothing stands out in my mind. We've had some kind of minor ones that have come in too. Fender benders, that sort of thing. So it counts as an accident, but they're not. We were keeping it about consistent earlier this year, if I recall correctly, but nothing stands out in my mind as to anything that stands out. We've had a few, we just had one Saturday there was one, there was a car off the road, I don't give any stats though, but that was DUI related. And again, it's not in the stats, 'cause it's October, it's just September. I really don't know why all of a sudden there seems to be an uptick, but it was quiet earlier, but now it seems to be, there's a lot more people. I mean, just look at the end of, Sodom Road, that trail has been jammed even before the colors.
Yeah.
And so there seems to have been, once the initial quiet phase went down, Wolfboro was like a ghost town, April, May, and then all of a sudden, started in June, it started getting really busy again, and it's still fairly busy comparatively speaking. I think you've got, well, in talking with, the moderator, they've got 300 new registrations, something like that. There's a significant number of new people that registered to vote this time, in the primary. So I think you have people that have either moved or have their second homes as their first home now. There seems to be more people around.
So your vehicle stops are up considerably, like 60-65%. Accidents, as Bill mentioned, are up 40%. So it would appear as though we're not talking accidents that are speed related or DWI related. We're talking accidents that are like fender bender accidents, or have there been major collisions in town?
I can't, again, I could generate stats to figure that out, but I don't think of any major ones that come to mind. We've had some, but not that many. They've been, I mean, we had one person, like 2 in 2 days, or 2 in 4 days, something like that, just for whatever reason. One was basically non-reportable to the state, but I still count that as an accident. In other words, the damage was below a threshold, if you will. So, and I think, as cars are designed better and safety features become more ingrained into the systems, I can't think of anywhere we've had major injury per se, but we've had the same number.
Maybe the thing to do is to dig into the stats a little bit in your spare time and just see if there's
see if there's something that stands out.
Yeah.
I know we've had a couple. We had one that was still trying to figure out exactly what happened. I mean, they went off the road, but they damaged the field, so it counts as an accident. Some people might not report that as an accident, but they did some rather significant damage to the field, and lost some parts out there and drove off afterwards. So we're looking at that. And, some places might not have counted that as even as an accident, but we tend to err on the side of strictly interpreting the law as damage to property, being that person's field or lawn. Do that.
Yeah, if something happened, what are you gonna call it? You're gonna call it something?
Exactly, it's an accident. It fits the criteria for an accident, but in that particular case, it's probably not, the damage probably wasn't significant, but there's a question as to whether or not they should have been driving the way they were driving. Maybe some violations.
Ended up in the field.
That's how they end up in the field, maybe.
Yep.
But
Okay then. Well, thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Be safe, thank you for what you
Thank
do. All right, I'm gonna call Parks and Rec Director. Thank you for what you said. Welcome, sir.
Good morning, everyone.
Dennis? How are you?
I'm good because I forgot my earbuds again, so
Oh,
can't hear half the stuff you say.
Okay,
Good?
That'd be good.
we'll sign it.
Yeah. We talking budget today or just a general report? Or?
Why don't you start with general report, and then let's talk about it.
No, sure. Again, you've heard of the cancellation of the Halloween program. We did make a grant application, thanks to Kathy over there giving us some information on the live venue relief program through the governor's office. We made that application 2 weeks ago, so we're waiting to hear. Simply, and it was for profit or non-profit groups, so the fact that maybe we lost some sponsorship with the pandemic, certainly the bank was the biggest. Hopefully we get recoup some of that money through that grant, so that was good. We did meet with the Wolfboro Snowmobile Group, Justin, and trying to help them out as much as we can on a couple items. The first item we talked about a cut through, so snowmobilers could get to the beach much quicker from the highway, simply saying it's illegal to go down Bay Road. So we talked about that, but unfortunately, we can't do that until he gets permission from 2 other property owners, the way they want to come in to the, to get to the lake. So we're waiting to hear from them on that. And I said, time is back there, whether we clear that or not. And right next to the shed seems like the best spot. We talked about is at our land. There's less trees, more or less kind of a high brush area where we planted that rain garden. But we'll wait to hear from them, and they're supportive. They're very happy that we're there to try and help them out a little bit.
I heard compliments about your approach and your style, and thank you for representing the town.
Oh, great. The other issue we talked about is some of the conditions of the trails might need some work, and Zach Tufts, agreed to do the work, so we're gonna try and get him out there to look at some of those trails. And I didn't realize that he was saying that it's a Wolfboro Snowmobile Club, but there's more members from Tuftonville basically than Wolfboro, and they have about 200 members, so
Yes.
that's a pretty good sized group. Coming today to my office, which I don't know if we have it available at town hall, town offices on I've been involved in a few Zoom meetings which I don't have a microphone, camera, or even speakers. So for low money through Amazon, it's coming today. It'll be hooked up at my office. So if anyone ever needs to take part in a Zoom meeting, there was once I was on my phone and it just didn't work out. So, it was actually $99 marked down to $33, but then we got speakers, so it's about $50, $60. So for short money, we got stuff I think that is gonna help.
And that will come out of your budget, right?
Either that or you could donate.
Okay.
Okay, I think we can talk budget a little bit.
He's on a fixed income.
Yeah, I heard that story. You have a copy of the budget. Couple things that come up. One is, one of our lifeguards, been with us for 2 years, agreed to take the WSI course. We found one online for roughly $350. That's the book part of it, not the actual training part. Will be paying an instructor after. So between Hannah DeWitt and Joe Blatcher, we'd like to secure them so we can definitely start advertising swim team and swim lessons. So that would be an expense added probably to next year's budget. And the Wolfboro thing comes through with the snowmobile, and it would probably be an expense for that. But talking to Lloyd, the biggest issue I think is what's going to be left in our budget this year. And how can we maybe take some of that money and apply it to some of the things we need to do? One of the items we talked about, which I've been thinking about the way now, is actually a 19-mile beach, those beams where you park, we talked about putting a stain on them to protect them. And then the actual beams on the pavilion, number one, there's some big cracks in them, we need to fill them with wood. But then maybe put a fresh coat on paint. But, you know, my hours have been considerably cut. I only worked 9 hours last week. And for 2 years, I worked as a part-time painter for the professionals. So I really wouldn't mind doing that. Both the staining of to save, I think, some money both with but I'd like to get started on that before the weather, you know, basically filling in the wood cracks and then staining those parking, you know, you can see those big beams where you park up against. So that'd be one item we talked about with the budget. The other item,
So can I ask a question? You mentioned your hours have been cut. Who cut your hours?
well, I did. I mean, there's not a whole lot of activity going on, you know. I mean, if we had Halloween, I'd be busy as a bee this week, but,
Yeah.
you know, it's just, I think, lack of,
Well, my opinion is if this is all stuff you can do within your budget,
yeah.
Get her done?
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to go to the hardware store, and we just did my front stairs with this paint that just seals it nice. And it was pretty expensive, but I think that might be nice for
Let's do it.
the beams, so, okay. I
So
will
Larry,
do
the
that.
cable guy would say, get her done.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
just so we know how this is gonna work. You're gonna overspend the beach and dock maintenance, let's say.
overspend much money from this year?
Yes.
No. Well, I think the
Yeah, you
big,
gotta put it somewhere, and you're
So-
not gonna put it in lifeguards and training. So you
So,
have to put it on an appropriate line, which is fine.
yeah,
You spent $21,916,000 so far this year out of a $57,000 budget.
yeah,
So whatever you can get done between now and December 31st, that's
Yeah.
great.
okay.
But at the end of that, I don't see that there's anything that we're gonna do about carrying money forward from this year.
no,
to now.
unless you have so we can encumber money from this year's budget
Yeah.
if we have a specific project.
Okay.
Right,
And not just in somebody's head, but
it's contract.
And Roy explained that I needed to get 2 quotes based, when we're talking about the paint and some fence work that has to be
So,
done on there too.
but again, if there's stuff that you want to do,
Yeah,
and you can do,
yeah,
That's
and you can
fine.
handle it within your budget, that's fine. But
Okay.
I think what Chip is saying, and I'll reiterate it, is wherever that expense goes ought to be charged to that line. So your budget is the bottom line,
yeah,
okay? And you have all of these little sub-accounts in here that we track expenses.
mhm,
So if you happen to be over on one line and you're taking it from someplace else, that's fine, but charge it where it should be.
Right.
Charge it to maintenance, don't charge it to a line that you don't have any expense in, because otherwise we're not actually tracking the cost. Right.
The other half, what they're saying is the other half of your budget is an accounting statement, so we can plan for future years.
right, yeah.
So that's this year's budget. Are we gonna get to next year's budget here this morning, or do you
No,
wanna?
no, that's fine. I mean,
Okay.
if you guys
Because
want.
I'm looking at the projection, the department head request, and you started out by talking about somebody going to training, but we've got nothing on the lifeguard line in your request, and it's.
On the income?
No, on the expense. But
Are you looking at 20?
do you get this?
Yeah.
Okay, so the last line, lifeguards, was $7,500.
Column number 3,
On 2021.
yes,
Right.
and down at the bottom,
Yeah.
there's a vacant space for
Yeah.
lifeguard expense.
Well, I think we talked about that last meeting, about
So
the
what,
fact that.
what figure goes in there to hire these lifeguards? That's their salary, correct?
Well, the salary, we said we're not having lifeguards.
So you're gonna eliminate the lifeguards,
Right,
okay?
that's why there's 0 there, there's nothing there.
Okay, but I guess I'm just, the people that are going off to get trained for swim coaches and
Right.
that sort of thing,
That would just be swim team and swim lessons.
okay, so there's no lifeguarding involved
Right.
at all.
Correct.
All right.
And,
And $750 is gonna cover the swim team and swim lessons?
They split that. No, that's just for the swim team,
Okay,
the swim coach. And we had two people split that, not this past year, the year before.
okay.
So swim coach is $750.
Right,
Water safety instructors are $1,500.
right.
So there's a total increase with that part of your business of $850. And you think that's gonna cover their expense?
To get trained and hired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
I mean, I think the new item again is that, you know, well, I don't know if it's a new item, is the town of Wolfboro. We're gonna decide on that. And the other thing was the old home days, which wasn't in previous budgets. We just kind of went to reserve on there.
I don't know that we're on the, if we go one step at a time. On the town of Wolfboro, we don't have a bill from them yet, but we still have 2 months to go. They may fax us a bill. And this has been a particularly strange year, given the pandemic. So I'm not certain I'm willing to eliminate that from Dennis's budget for next year. I mean, we haven't really had a fleshed out discussion.
And you've had
So my recollection of our conversation is that we were not gonna directly pay that to Wolfboro, but we were gonna have money available to reimburse the
Difference.
the out-of-town upcharge. So we need to have some money in the budget
Right.
that can be used for that. And we don't have any history this year with the reimbursements
Right.
because nothing was going on.
And we're essentially flat budgeted. But
Yeah.
what Dennis has given us is pretty much a flat budget. So I don't have a problem leaving 16,661 in there and see how this reimbursement or however we handle the Wolfboro
Mhm.
issue goes for 2021.
Well, we still have a few months left in the budget process if some
Right.
brand new news comes in.
Right.
Right. But from a Parks and Rec standpoint, most of the season's over by this point, right? I mean, activities, normally your activities from this point forward are kind of winding down.
Right.
So the bulk of our Parks and Rec expense occurred during the summer season and the shoulders of that, right?
I mean, what's your thought on the old home days?
I'm all for that. I think that's
Yes.
a great idea. I think
Yes.
you can't do things completely unfunded. You have to have some money to operate.
Right.
And I
And
think we
and the
gotta-
issue this year was that we didn't have the sponsorships that we had in the past,
Right.
right?
We had probably half, yeah.
And I think, if you have a budget, the $3,000 that you're asking for, now you're enriching the event, and that in itself will collect sponsors, because it's
Good point.
a better operated event.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
not just homegrown. You went up $2,000 on the recreation areas. What's that all about? You had 4, you spent $658, now you want 6.
I think we increased the docks and stuff because,
You now have 20-mile bay.
So that's a 20-mile bay.
yeah,
Where are those buoys stored?
the doctor has them. He takes them out, cleans them that day,
And where are the ones from?
my house.
Well, assuming that either you nor the doctor will live forever, you probably should set up a place for all that stuff somehow.
Well, the trailer's a great idea.
Now, you and I talked about it last year, and it's not in your budget this year.
Like, they
was
set
a-
a percentage of the budget.
There was a storage metal building that we could buy for $7,000.
Just
It's
think about it a
portable.
little bit. I mean, if you,
You saw me brought that up?
No.
if we actually go forward with the police station in the next couple of years, maybe we should remember to allocate, let's say, part of the garage
For storage of this
for
stuff.
Parks and Rec. Get an area that Dennis controls or his department
Well,
controls.
the other thing is, we used to use the equipment shed for storage of beach stuff. And that's still up there, still available.
And I asked that
Is that
question.
a transfer station?
No, it's on the mountain road. It's across from Phineas Graves.
Oh, see, I-
It's,
Don't ever live in there, it's haunted, just so you know.
it's like a two-car garage. And,
Oh.
yeah, we used to store the beach stuff up there all the time.
Yeah.
Now, there are more convenient places, but it is,
Yeah,
as far as I know, we're not storing anything in there now.
Clay wanted to weigh in on it, what do you have to?
Remember, we are a member of NRA, and NRA has some discounts on storage containers.
You mentioned that before.
So,
yeah.
Right.
all you gotta do is call Bonnie at NRA, it's that, whatever you want a 40 yard, you want a 20 yard, a 15 yard enclosed. When you talk about $7,000, a few years ago when I checked for a storage container, it was 4,200 through them.
So I guess my thought is if we have space that we currently have that we're not using, we ought to
Yeah.
at least entertain using that before we buy some more
Yeah.
space.
I gotta look at that.
Yeah. Yep.
I'd like to address that issue. I asked several months ago about a couple of buildings, and do we need to put money in the budget? First of all, the eventual removal of the Dearborn House after the Gould property, and I also asked about maintaining the tractor shed. The doors keep falling off, the brush needs to be cut, and we didn't, we tabled that discussion.
You raised the issue, we haven't gotten to it yet, right?
The tractor should be,
The equipment shed up on Mountain Road.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah, same place.
Right.
Can I ask what NRA stands for?
And,
New Hampshire. Resource-
Northeast Resource
Resource
Recovery
Recovery
Association.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think we need to utilize the space we have and maybe maintain the space we have.
Right.
So-
Before we buy more space.
Correct.
Or evaluate it and say it's not appropriate and we need to go a different direction. So, back to the recreation areas and beach and dock maintenance. So you've increased the beach and dock maintenance line by $1,000. Does that include the swim lines and that sort of thing? Okay. And you've increased the recreational areas by 2,000. Now, we haven't spent much this year, but this year is an unusual year. But when I look back, and I think you have this too, the detail from the past, okay, the recreation areas line. So, in 2019, we spent 3,200. 2018, we spent 2,000.
Yeah.
Prior to that, we spent significantly less. So we budgeted for an increase this year that we didn't realize because of called COVID. And it was a plus up of 20% from the year before. And then we're gonna add another $2,000 this coming year. If there's specific things that are building out, then I guess it makes sense, but all I see in the proposed budget is a single line that says recreation area $6,000. So are there some specific,
I think basically that only expense right there was the grills
okay,
that we put in down the beach. the
Right.
Grills.
right?
But I mean, when you look at that, I mean, what else we wanna do? We wanna do volleyball, we wanna do horseshoe pits, you know.
So I'm looking for some detail
Yeah.
with respect to costs that would suggest that we have to increase it by another third over what we put in the budget this year.
And that might be a question the budget committee would have.
Well, I imagine
We're
they
asking
would,
it.
and we're asking it, and I'm not comfortable moving that much of an increase forward on that line.
Right.
Now,
And it's kind of a funny thing because it's on equipment, actually with maintenance stuff too, probably, I would think. The time we did up at the school with the, you know, the grass pit where we were gonna put the gaga pit and clearing out all that, Zach Tufts did that, that came out of that part of the budget.
You also talked to me about having an arborist trim the dead stuff
Right.
out of the parking lot.
Correct.
You also spoke to me that trees are coming down on the 2 trails on the Gould property.
Yeah,
You know, if someone's up there with a chainsaw, it can't be a mother and her kids.
right.
We don't want kids throwing chainsaws.
Well, I know what you're saying, and
I mean, should we have an event line? Would that help?
well, we talked about the event line that was coming out of the other fund there, but that's dwindled quite a bit. I mean, you start talking all the little items, Easter egg hunt, and, you know, this program, Valentine's program, you know, here's $400, here's $600, and those were coming out of the reserve fund.
Right.
And I always wanted to put it in the budget, but last year, I guess they decided not to.
Well,
But I mean, if those are gonna be yearly events, they should be budgeted, I would think.
we put $4,000 in the budget this year, and we spent $3,200 in 2019.
Yeah.
So, Diane can get you a detail on what went into that line in 2019 to give us an idea of what was there.
Yeah.
And that's a good way to kind of say, okay, these are the things that we're planning on. I'm not saying $6,000 is too much.
Right.
I'm just asking a question, why are we going to double, almost double what we spent last year?
That's a good question. No, that is,
Right,
but that one is a good question.
50, yeah. Yeah, it's a 50% increase over what we budgeted for this year. It's 85% increase over what we spent in 2019. So
Oh, I'm glad.
if we got big plans and it's gonna cost us to do them, we lay it out and
Right.
we all march forward saying, you know, we're in agreement.
Yeah. So maybe I could get that detailed list.
Right.
Ask Diane to run you that particular account line
And
for
get-
2019.
And
She'll-
get the detail on your Parks and Rec account, the money that you spent on certain things. I'm sure there's an accounting of
Right.
it somewhere. And figure out, I mean, I don't have a problem if we're gonna eliminate $7,500 worth of lifeguards and replace it with $7,500 worth of events, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I mean, we need a Parks and Rec department, we've got all these kids in
And
town.
I think, you know, if you have ideas of what goes into that $6,000, this is gonna cost, estimate this, this is gonna
Okay.
do that.
Yeah.
Just
That-
need to
that's-
justify it.
Right, that's a
Yeah.
good way for us to,
No. Good point.
yep.
Right, and then maybe that bolsters the 20% increase in the trash line.
Right.
If you're gonna have more activities going on, you're gonna create more trash, you have to, you know, so the whole thing fits, it all works.
And which, you know, this year you haven't spent anything on trash.
Right.
So,
He hasn't
And-
submitted the bill yet.
I'm sorry?
He submits the bill in December.
Yeah.
Oh, Billy,
Graham.
Graham, okay.
Ac-
Yeah, so let's make sure.
Actually,
that's
the
in-
program that you and he had, the 3 areas around the lake that he picks up every day, we've had no kids cut feet, no animals getting
No,
into
it's a good program.
It has worked well.
Right.
Bill
So-
Graham, you and him
so this is,
solved it.
but he just bills us once a year.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine.
And I asked him if he needs to add more to that, he had to contact him prior to now. And he said, no, we're all set. So,
All right, so we need to, in your notes, you need to check with Billy Graham, make sure that
Bill's already told me.
Yeah,
it's
I got
okay.
it.
the $1,000 is enough.
Yep. Unless he forgets.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's good to make sure.
Sure.
We haven't spent anything on office supplies or advertisement, that seems odd.
Yeah, I know you ran brochures for Old Home Days, right?
The
Yeah.
brochures?
Yeah,
Yeah, that, and again, did that come out of the reserve or out of this?
well, I don't know.
Well, you haven't spent anything
Because
on
Old Home
that.
Days wasn't in the budget.
All we're interested in is what did it cost those things?
Well, and you paid for it, where did it come out of,
Right.
right?
Again, I submitted it to Jack, and I think old home days.
Okay, all right. So, but your other advertisements didn't cost anything?
Like the thank you note to the sponsors and stuff for the.
Well, like the concert series, whatever you might have put in the paper on that, or did that go in for?
It really didn't, I mean, outside of putting flyers out and a news release, there's no expense.
Well, the news release.
But I mean, there will be, the point you made about the yard sale, me making 50 yard sale signs.
Yeah.
Let's just get them.
Right,
Right,
exactly.
Right.
okay. So that line seems to be okay, it just needs to be monitored where they get.
What we want him to do is to expand word-wise
Right.
and break down each
We're-
line. We're
we're
happy
just-
with the bottom line,
We're
correct?
just looking for detail.
No, I mean, that point about justifying that 6,000 is certainly
Right.
it, and
Right.
we should do that, yeah.
Yeah, and I think, just as an aside, we've hired a part-time secretary for taking minutes for the budget committee and the conservation commission, and she just lives down the street. She's willing to work extra hours part-time, places like this, so you don't need to do your accounting. She can work all these numbers for you, which I think would be helpful,
Okay.
because you're more of an ideas guy. I think.
Mhm.
So I think utilizing that help will help you focus on, you've done a great job of focusing on what you need in the Parks and Rec, but we need a lot more detail in order
Yeah.
to sell it.
Yeah.
That's all.
What's the next step with the whole budget process?
So come back to us with detail on some of this stuff.
Right.
and
You need to be able to
Yeah.
defend the lines. I think,
And,
What's the timeline for that and going?
well, we're meeting again next Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Okay, so,
So-
Give it to us.
If you could be ready to do that, that'd be great.
okay.
Now, to change focus a little bit, you spent 22,000 this year. How much more do you expect to spend in
22,000.
$21,916.
Right, 22,000 approximately is how much you've expended of this year's budget.
Yeah.
How much more do you expect to expend this year?
There were 2 projects you said you were gonna do on your own.
Yeah.
There's your time and
Sand
material.
and paint, and maybe a couple brushes.
Do you have an estimate? Is it $1,000?
I don't know.
So you got $2,500 if you just go on the rate of travel.
Yep,
You got $2,500 worth of salary left to go, because you have 2 more months to go.
right,
Yes.
So if, let's say you spend another $5,000 on
right.
equipment, paint, and materials, now it's $7,500, now you're 28, 29,
Yeah,
6.
I don't, it won't be that much.
Right.
I mean, the fence is not,
So,
unless they really get into.
Oh, we should be under $30,000, I think, at the end of the day.
right,
No, I mean.
Well, the entire bridge on County Road was, what, $3,400?
I don't know, where are you going there, Jim?
That was Dave Wentworth staining,
Oh, the
and it's the same timbers that are put down there.
yep.
It's the same stain.
So,
But he's got 2 months worth of looking to do too. He's got 30 grand
Right.
sitting there in his budget that he can
right.
bring us
So,
over.
well, we also have other needs, and if we've got 25,000 that we know we're not gonna, or 30,000 we know we're not gonna get to, then it's appropriate for us to identify that and get the road agent, for instance, working on doing this,
Right. And that's on
culverts
our-
and stuff. That's on us, that's why I'm asking the question. I don't want us to take money out of your budget that you're gonna use, we're not gonna remove it from the budget, but to allocate it someplace else if you're gonna use it. But I don't wanna be here at the end of December saying, we had this need over here, and we didn't get the money because
We
we
spent it
didn't.
twice.
Yeah, right, we don't wanna spend it twice, or
leave a need that we have unaddressed
Right.
because we didn't want to.
So do we have anything, any Christmas functions?
We haven't planned it yet, but
Okay.
we should. Now, let me ask a question on the stairs. Did that come out of this budget?
No,
No.
No, that was a warrant article.
it's a capital.
And the chief talked to me about, I asked him about the detail officers came out of his budget. But he did say for next year, if for some reason at a concert, he can't fill the spot, he would have to get an outside
Right,
detail, which then would come out of my budget.
Right.
right.
Which may inure to the benefit of that $6,000 line. I mean, there are expenses for your department that I think are getting pushed in strange places.
Wasn't there talk about taking it out of this budget?
And-
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but if you're gonna do a concert series again, you need to have appropriate funding for that.
Yeah.
So if that,
If that's part of your recreation areas line,
Yeah.
that's, again, we're just asking the question is that, you know,
and it may be that, we can't do it this year because it's too late in the game, but maybe next year we need to add a line for events,
Yes.
just so it's clear where things are
Yeah.
headed.
Yeah.
Because recreational areas might be trail cleaning or sign making or
Yeah.
whatever.
yep,
And an event, like the Old Home Days has a line,
Mhm.
that's an event line.
Right.
yep,
So, or maybe we just expand that to Old Home Days / events, I don't know.
No, I'd be more comfortable with that rather than just saying, you know, the reserve fund used to be 13, now it's 3, you know,
Yeah,
so.
well, as long as it's appropriately expended, that's fine.
Right.
But you know going forward that there's gonna be needs from kids that wanna go skiing or skating or whatever
Right.
that we've offered
Right.
scholarship to. So you need a certain amount of money in there.
Mhm.
All right. That sounds good.
You all set?
Yeah, all set.
So we'll see
Nice
you on
job so
election
far.
day?
For what?
We'll see you on election day?
Yeah, but we're planning on, I mean, I saw that on Facebook. I mean, why couldn't I help, like, at the voting,
You could. You just have to get with Dan Margaret.
okay.
Yeah.
I mean, why, yeah. I don't have to live in Tufton Road, I could,
No, they have the National
depending-
Guard serving as,
Yeah. Depending upon what position.
yeah,
So,
okay.
you know, some of the positions.
But it sounds like it's an all-day thing and
Yeah.
you need help, so.
Yeah.
yeah,
Anyway,
So-
you're gonna come back with your budget next
I
week.
will.
yeah.
Super.
Okay.
Thank you.
Can you help him on the
Thanks, Dan.
container?
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Oh, that's right.
Transfer station.
Hey, how's it going?
Anyone need to take a break?
Grand here that we can put towards.
Does anyone need to take a break momentarily?
Up on Federal Farm.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just need to get a glass of water, would you mind?
Go ahead.
Thanks.
We'll take a break for a moment.
Yeah, I think. Let me get rid of some water.
One is the contract for testing.
Okay.
And you have a recommendation.
Yeah, I submitted.
Larry Gill has a recommendation, and then the next is your budget.
Okay.
It's my understanding we have not yet awarded the contract for the landfill monitoring, correct?
We have not. That's correct.
Is the board ready to discuss that as the first item of business with Clay?
No. I'm not ready.
Okay.
I just think,
Okay.
I mean, I've looked at what Larry Gill's put together and looked what Louis put together. I'm just not,
Sure.
I'm not focused, I'm sorry.
Okay, I understand that.
We can deal with that next week.
Yep,
Yeah.
we'll do that.
Yeah.
Okay, budget, sir.
All right, I typically put my budget together the same way each year. The first two pages, page number 2, is the new position, grade, and step for each employee. four category of employees. The per diem employees are all the same. The first page is the matrix of, in the first column, is the current position and grade, the current hours per week. The hours, the next column is the hours per year, additional hours for the items listed below, with the asterisk, the grand total hours, and then the 20 appropriated money for each position, the 2020 hourly wage, and then it was determined 1.3% COLA, which is on page 2 of that chart, and merit or no merit included in the budget. The next column is 2021 my recommendation for hourly wage, and the last column is 2021 proposed compensation grade and steps, which is a total. The first three lines are individuals. The fourth line in the chart is the three per diem employees added together. So usually what I do on the budget when I present it to the budget committee is I do the labor lines first, because that's usually the major portion of the discussions. And if you had the COLA with a merit step, it would be 3.3%. The actual dollar value of increase is 2.8% for the transfer station because I'm the COLA only.
Cool.
The added additional expense on the labor line comes from experience this year with your direction, the increased coverage to have somebody in the compactor at all times. And that's from basically about the third week in June up through Labor Day. We've learned that even after Labor Day, it's just as busy. So we've expanded the coverage to have two per diem guys there every day and longer time during that day. That's cut down immensely on illegal stuff dropped off in illegal places, misuse of the compactor itself by the attendant. No, you don't put that there, that goes down in construction debris. That's really helped significantly. So that's where the additional expense comes in. Any questions on the labor line?
I have one.
Okay.
So you have a grade and step for your per diem.
I'm sorry.
You have a labor grade and step indicated for your three
Yes.
per diem employees.
Correct.
Are they all at the same step?
Yes. They all basically were hired at the same time.
Okay. Yep.
If you know, if somebody was new was to come in with a per diem, they would not come in at that grade and step.
All right.
I have a question.
Yes.
How many hours vacation do the permanent people get a year?
It's 3 weeks now.
So 3 times 35 is
105.
315 hours, right?
No, 105 hours.
It's 105 times 3.
Times 350, yeah.
315 hours
Yep.
at $16.60 because you hire a per diem guy to
Correct.
take their spot.
That's how I computed that last line of difference.
And that comes out to 5,229. Where is that in the budget?
That's, I divided that down because we already, in historical amounts, have added some of that into the per diem beforehand. I have it broken down as 210 hours more. And there's extended coverage from Labor Day now to Columbus Day versus ending at Labor Day. the additional coverage hours, and the increased coverage in the compact.
Under additional hours, I do not see vacation, 2 personal days, or an average of 5 sick days per
Yeah.
employee. Where is that?
That's down here under
On this line here, where is it?
off days, on the coverage for sick vacation.
So-
Coverage for sick vacation.
Right, so in that bottom line, under additional hours, he's got 270 coverage,
Right.
right?
Yes.
And if you look at what's underneath it, it says coverage for sick and vacation.
And then the additional, yeah.
Right.
May I approach you?
Yeah.
Circle it for me. I just don't see it.
Okay, right here. Oh, this is yours.
Yes. Okay, I need new glasses.
That portion of it is up in here.
Thank you. I need to go to 225 instead of 220.
Me too, Mike,
Okay.
real fast. Any other questions on the labor?
Yeah, the only bump we have is higher usage of the per diem,
Correct.
folks, which
Correct.
is why we're
Increased coverage.
doubling the amount
Yes, sir.
budgeting, yeah.
And my sense is,
And at 16, that amount of money, that's a logarithmic increase in coverage, so it really helps.
my observation is that with your stations being covered during the pandemic, it is proved that you said it keeps the inappropriate stuff
Yes.
from being in there. It also saves the equipment because you don't have hard plastic and metal trying to be crushed by the new compactor.
Right. We have to put the right place too.
Yes.
Um, if there's no more questions on the labor, the total increase from the total increase in the transfer station budget went from 436 to 457. So it's $21,000, which leaves $11,000 basically of an increase in all the rest of the lines. The next group of lines that I'd like to concentrate on are the ones that we don't really have any control over, and it's a function of waste management, the contract we have with waste management, and that is the plastic, CD, MSW, and glass to a certain extent. So those 4 lines have a mandatory 3% increase in cost on those lines. In addition, NRA came out this year with a $5 increase from $35 a ton to $40 a ton crushing fee, which equals about 15% increase. That sounds like a lot. It's not. Over a period of time. They don't bump their prices up every year. I think in my 10 years, they've had one price increase before, from 30 to 35, and now they're going from 35 to 40. So it's it is the majority of the increase in the lines comes from those 4 lines. We went from 88,000 to 8250 on plastic. We went from 103,000 to 106,000 on C&D. We went from 108,000 to 111,250 for MSW, and we went from 4,500 for glass to 5,300. So Those four lines basically equate to the majority of the increase that wasn't waived.
Well, let me ask you a couple of questions.
Okay.
Obviously, the COVID affected some of the expenditures this year, particularly on C&D,
Correct.
right? So,
C&D and lack of revenue.
I'm just talking expense, because we're looking at the budget. So, we budgeted 103,000 for C&D, we've spent so far 50, right?
Right.
So when I go back and look at what we did for C&D last year, we spent 96.
Remember, we're a month behind in reporting the actual
Right.
expense. So
Right,
I would say about $30,000 difference.
okay.
Well,
So you think that we're gonna, our expense will come pretty close to 103 this year?
No. In C&D, it would be
Yes.
$30,000 less.
Okay,
So I used last year's number.
right, all right,
but
so,
you've got about $10,000 more to spend.
Right.
right, so
Yeah.
I guess what I wonder is, if increasing the C&D budget over this year makes sense, given that, I'm not suggesting that we reduce it, but we had a reduced usage this year because of the COVID. So if we go back to normal usage next year,
We're back to about the same rate of use
right,
that we've had each year
right,
over that period where we didn't get rid of CD. There was an increase in MSW
mhm,
because more was going into compactor.
right,
But the most you've ever spent on C&D, it was 2018, which was $100,000.
right.
So I'm kind of I'm leaning towards Bill of saying, can we leave the line alone?
If we leave it at 103 instead of 106,
Right.
we may go a little bit over next year, but
Right.
Well, hopefully if we go over, it's going to be offset by revenue,
right,
Well,
which isn't happening because
right.
right.
of how it's working. Right.
We can, yeah, we can do that. I have no problem doing that. The way I look at it is on those four cost lines, because it's all coming from waste management,
Mhm.
I look at it like you were talking to the Parks and Recs, is if we go over on one line,
Right,
as long as we're under on the other line, or we stop spending so that we don't exceed the overall total budget for the transfer station.
Yeah.
right,
And what I try to do is make those lines individually accurate for what
right,
Right, because you're going to go over on your MSW.
MSW. So I have to make up for that someplace.
Right.
And
I mean, the
it's
total
easy.
budget's not going to be over, but
Right.
I think you're correct in saying that the 111 is a more appropriate number for MSW for 2021.
Right.
So I get that, because you're going to go well over 108, I think, this year.
Yes. And remember, we're 1 month behind
Right.
in billing.
right.
So instead of, you think November and December, we only have 2 months, we actually have 3 months left
Yeah,
of the
Well, it
numbers
works.
to come out of what we've already spent. We won't get October's bill until
Okay,
November.
we're going to have October's bill. Right. So not pushing it forward into 2021.
mhm.
Okay.
Are you suggesting a change in that line?
MSW? No, I was thinking.
The
more
construction
line.
debris?
Yeah, the only change I'm suggesting is taking C&D back down to 103 so far.
What's your suggestion, Bill?
I support that, yeah. And again, just looking at the rate of growth, we had an interruption this year, so are we gonna take an extra leap next year? I don't know, I might be wrong.
Right.
It's not a huge amount of money, but I think it's easier to support we're gonna level fund with where we expect it to be this year and see where it comes out next year.
Okay.
I have a few questions. The following items the cost per ton to transport them? What's plastic?
Everything, the cost to haul is,
That's not the question I'm asking.
yeah,
The
the cost.
question I'm asking is cost per ton. What, I'm not asking
I think
for
it's-
fuel,
I-
I'm not asking for
Yeah,
fuel
I
fees.
don't know off the top of my head.
I'm not asking
Isn't
for
the
fuel.
cost per ton the same on all of them?
I think it's $40 a ton. I don't have that number in front of me.
I'm not asking for fuel fees, I'm not asking for hiring a guy to be there for safety
I am.
issues.
You're asking per ton, and I just don't have that number.
Okay, I didn't mean to hit you cold, so I apologize. I'll get that information from you in your office.
Okay. We get a separate bill each month that's in addition to the haul for plastic, glass, MSW, and CD. It's at the bottom of our monthly statement, where I have the cost, it's the specific numbers, not the monthly totals, but specifics. In the bottom section of the chart, there's a line that is tons, and waste management, plastic, total tons for the month, and how much it costs. I
But
just
do they
don't-
break, I guess my understanding of Lloyd's question is, do they break it down in the cost per ton to haul it? Or is the cost per ton hauling and disposal all one number?
It's broken down.
Okay. And that's-
There is one number on the waste management bill, but it's broken down into two things.
It's like the telephone bill or the electric bill. There's a whole bunch of fees,
Right.
but at the bottom line, it says how much you owe. Or
If it's $396 if you haul a single haul. It's $286 if you haul a double.
Right.
So the haul fees are different as long as, if we get to double, that's $143 a
Right.
haul.
And they're
And
not,
then
that's
there-
not related to,
what- what's-
that's not related to weight.
Right, and then they add the weight on.
Right, so what's the tipping fee for MSW?
About 105,
All right, and the tipping fee for C&D?
105.
Okay, and the tipping fee for plastics?
I think it's 60 in that neighborhood.
Okay.
Again, I have.
Yeah, all right. I'm not trying to hold your hands to the fire, just, there is some benefit, there is, say, a $40 benefit to separating and segregating the plastics and moving them in a separate stream from the municipal solid waste, right?
Oh, yes, I mean, you can, there's the expense, again, it's the same question with the paper.
this is where you've educated me, sir.
It-
For example, glass and plastic makes sense. Everyone who voluntarily recycles them and puts them in a separate container. Plastic has memory, so it doesn't compact easily. The other thing is glass doesn't compact easily in the compactor.
You can't, you can't.
Right, and here's where you've tried to educate person after person, and people listen.
The plastic, in order for us to make it worthwhile, we would have to have 3 or 4 more times the volume of plastic.
No, I'm talking,
Yeah.
I'm not saying
Yeah.
separate the different kinds of plastics,
Right.
the stuff that has value from the other stuff. All I'm saying is, the way we do it now saves us about $40 a ton,
Yes,
or we're just throwing it in the compactor.
correct.
Right.
So, $105, that's why I guessed at,
Yeah, that's fine.
yes, there is a savings to that.
I'll get those individual, that's why I asked cost per ton.
Okay.
But conversely, if I understand correctly, we would pay a premium.
You are the
if we-
only participant in this conference.
Good.
Press any key to continue this conference. The conference will now continue. You are the only participant in this conference.
I guess at 2 hours, you have to renew it, so. Anyway, if we were to to take the paper out of municipal solid waste, we then pay a premium over the,
Yes.
over the disposal cost.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, no, got it?
Well, now, are we gonna go back to the CD one? Is that,
We've changed, do you want to vote on that one?
Well,
Or do you want to vote on the whole?
Let's vote on the whole package.
Okay.
I'm going to support you guys on it. I've already penciled in 103.
Okay,
Any other lines you have questions about?
I got a few.
Go ahead.
Okay, stump grinding. Is that our expert? I thought we cleaned that up, and now we're just working on an annual collection of stumps and brush.
no stumps, brush, no larger than 6 inches in diameter.
I know, but you're looking for,
It's a brush and stump line, but I constantly have to turn people away.
you're looking for a 30%.
I move we
in
read.
that line.
That's because we guessed at the annual cost of the brush when we started having it picked up. It is proven to be a lot more than what we guessed. But there were, when I think Lloyd, you brought it up first, the original was 2 loads a month, you know, and it's $500 a load, so that'd be $12,000. And we came in, and the final conclusion was,
we put $6,000 in.
we put $6,000, which was half that much. And we've had it online since March, and we've already spent
6,500.
$6,500.
Okay.
And I would guess we're gonna have at least another 2 to 3 loads, and that's why I put 8,000.
Yep,
Okay.
and we may go over that next year.
And we may go over that next year.
Okay.
No, I can support that.
That's and we may want to revisit at some point in time. You
The
talk
program.
about revisiting the pricing charts.
Yep.
Or, most of the other towns have done the same thing. It's a lot more expensive to dump the brush in Wolfboro than it is here.
Okay.
Chip,
Yeah, I'm sorry.
what I'd like to see is at the end of the discussion to be an omnibus vote.
Right.
And to add to your 103, I'm going to make part of that motion that we delete and stump and grinding. It just makes it more
On
difficult.
the title,
Yes, on the title.
Okay,
Just call it brush disposal.
brush and stump,
No,
Brush disposal, no stumps.
no stumps.
yes.
Brush.
okay. Next item, the selectmen have?
I'm okay up until the next page, unless you get something to.
Nothing jumps out at me.
Okay, equipment maintenance.
Oh, can I point out one thing?
Sure.
The other line that made a question is the mowing line,
Yep.
going from 750 to 1,400.
That's always-
We have always programmed on the landfill mowing line, 1 mow a year. In my experience, and we had it done, Billy Williams did it before, and we eked by with, I think, it should have been mowed twice, where it was only mowed once. And now Kyle's mowing it, he's mowing it with his Bobcat, which has a really unique
Brush hog.
brush hog on the front, and it looks 1,000% better.
Yeah.
But in my discussions with him, I really think it should be done twice a year. It keeps it cleaner, it stops any brush from growing and root structure going in there. And I think it's a small price to pay.
I want to support that for a second reason.
Okay.
My family lives in the area, and in the last couple of years, the power lines that go through your facility have been inundated with motorcycles and four-wheel drive vehicles. And as a firefighter, those are the things that don't have spark arresters on them. And
Yeah.
traditionally throughout New Hampshire, every summer there's a forest fire that started. So I support that line for the next year.
backing up a little bit here,
Okay,
to equipment maintenance, you dropped that by $2,000.
right, that's because we got a new compactor, brand new,
Yeah.
and we got a new baler, brand new, and the second baler is fairly new.
Okay,
So as far as the risk
yeah,
associated with maintenance stuff going bad, you know, I firmly believe we should try to get as accurate as possible on those type lines. And so as the stuff gets older, I ask for more money, as we
right.
replace with newer, then I'm gonna ask for less money.
So on the fuel and propane line,
We haven't used any this year. It comes in December after the additive is put in. We use the fuel all year, but we can't buy it until December 10th. With Irving now taking over, they don't add the blend as soon as I think it was Carroll County that had it before. I've already notified them. They've been up to inspect the tanks because they're taking over the heating oil and the gas, and they already have our order in for as soon as possible after the additive is added, because we have to use it, you know, in January, February, when it's needed. And it's a 500-gallon tank, so
all right. And so
we
the
will use that.
The $1,500 is based upon the real pricing that we're getting from them?
Yes, that,
Do they give us the tax break, or do we have to apply for it?
No, if it's off.
Well, it's off-road,
it's off-road.
so there's no fuel tax,
Right.
state fuel
Right.
tax.
I mean, you guys bid on that contract.
And you explained the glass increase.
Right, it's basically an 18% overall increase in haul and crush.
All right.
And
But when I look at experience on glass, okay, so last year, we spent 2,800 and change on glass disposal.
Right.
And this year, we budgeted 4,500 and we've spent 1,400 so far. So,
That's not up to date. That 2020 expended is not up to date.
well,
But still-
okay, so, you know, we spent a little less than $3,000 last year. We bumped it up by, let's say, 50% to 4,500 for this year.
Right, I added one more, what I did when I figured this pricing is I added one more container, one more trip, than what we've had in the past, because we've had a significant increase this year in the amount of glass. But
So how out of date is the number on the glass?
I think there should be probably
Yeah.
I've got a container. There should be about another $800 added to that, and another $800 that's going today.
So
Well,
that's 3,200.
as of Friday, what had been processed in terms of bills was $1,408
Yeah.
as of last Friday.
Right.
if you add
We're
16
dealing with waste management, which is a month behind.
Right.
But if you add $1,600.
That's $1,600 to what's
So
been
now you're up to
expended.
$3,000.
Correct.
Okay.
Another one.
Your rate of
before-
travel is $300 a month, so another $600, you're at $3,600. So,
No,
yeah,
it'd be 3,000.
yeah.
If
and
that line is 3,000,
yeah.
then another 800 from that would be 3,800. That's what we're gonna use this year,
Right.
so it'll be 3,800. And I added a container for next year.
Okay, last year, 2019. Glass.
Yeah, you
You
spent
spent
$2,850.
$2,850.
Right.
Okay, so by adding, by pushing this to 5,300, you've actually, that's almost 100% increase over 2019. I guess
Okay.
that's where the,
You know, I'm fine, we want to keep it at 4,500.
That would be my recommendation, is to,
yeah, I think we got it, Clay.
Okay,
We're not gonna
No, it's, you know, we're estimating cost.
Right.
Close to
And
right.
I'm generating my numbers through, you know, the
Yeah.
rate of travel on the line, and you're generating your numbers through what your expectations
Right.
are, and they're not, I mean,
So that would be how much difference?
$800.
1,300?
800.
800. 800 on that, yeah.
Next one is safety equipment. I'm encouraged by the increase.
Okay, right. Yes, there's a lot more that gets added into that line. You know, because it's safety, it catches a lot of things.
Right.
And we re-upped our Cintas contract, and he comes 4 times a year, so that's all the medical equipment
Okay.
in the safety box. PPE is added on. It depends on how long we go with this, you know, buying more PPE. And safety signs,
Some real signage.
and then, yeah, and when we went out and got the NCT to disinfect the building
Right.
and the ops, which we probably need to do again here shortly.
I know that you're gonna get some pushback on this because you spent $650 last year on this line.
Right.
So far this year, you spent 576. So pushing it up another $250.
Right.
I'm happy to see more safety.
For example, you and I went up to Troop E and got about $200 or $300 free.
Right.
That would have cost,
Yeah.
you
I'm not
saved
sure.
us $300 in safety equipment.
Yeah, I'm trying to move the JP Pest, the contract we have with JP Pest is
Yeah.
$600. Okay, and I have been putting that in the past under
This line.
transfer station maintenance,
Right.
the maintenance, building maintenance line.
Yep.
And I want to put it where it belongs, which is in the safety.
Yes.
Okay.
The reason for that is 1 out of every 11 people who come to your facility are allergic to bee stings and wasps, and they die within 20 minutes.
So,
When was the last time we had somebody die at the transfer station?
No, well, we have had people die in town.
Yeah,
Oh, I know.
at any rate, okay, so that's moving into
So,
the maintenance of the building
right,
yeah,
is coming, okay, is going into safety. I got it.
yeah. All right, so can I back up one line to electronic disposal?
yes, I added 1 container.
Okay,
And we're just sending it to container out. We will have another one before the end of the year, so that's 2 times $12.75.
Mhm.
I'm more familiar with this price.
yeah,
So that's $25.50
yep,
added on to whatever we
38
previously spent.
already, yeah.
And then I added 1 more container because we've maxed.
okay.
And how many containers have you shipped so far?
We've shipped 3.
3?
3 so far. We're shipping 1 tomorrow or today. And we'll ship 1 before the end of the year.
So,
That's 5.
so $1,700. So yeah, 6250 works,
Mhm.
I think. If you add one.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've decreased the training and travel miles a little bit because we still may not go to the,
You can do it remote too, right?
yeah, well, we can do it remote or if we can get LRPC to still host a couple of meetings, we'll do it locally and save some money that
Yep.
way.
And we have spent nothing on uniforms?
Nothing. When we get down towards the end of the year, I would rather have a couple lines that we don't spend to offset if we overspend on others. That's a counter, it's a counter to the argument
It's,
of you put stuff in the right line.
yeah,
And,
Right.
you know, you put stuff in the right line, and the overall objective is to not exceed your overall budget,
Right.
okay?
Right.
So there's a couple lines that get hit every year as we approach the end, where it looks like we may go over.
so uniforms was a new line this year, right?
No, it wasn't new this year, we haven't spent any.
Well,
Yeah.
it's not in the historical detail, there's no line for it, so that's why I say it must be a new line this year. Unless it was someplace else, or it was,
Were we buying something, steel-toed shoes or something? I just have some.
Safety, that's under the safety line.
what?
Steel toe boots,
Right,
$100 per each.
Right.
right, so uniforms, it looks like is a new line in 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were gonna go back to do it, since this COVID started a lot, I decided
All
not.
right, so you're still intending to do uniforms?
I'd like to get, this, this new
Something,
type of-
at least
we need something to identify.
some consistent top,
Yeah,
Yes,
some kind of, yeah.
okay.
All right. And,
and we do that through, place by 7-Eleven there, because they have the,
right.
I can't remember what the name of the store is. 7-Eleven.
Calico.
Hmm?
Calico.
Calico. They have our logo and
They also give a discount to tenants.
Okay, so far, we've identified $3,800 in reduction from
Right,
the
right.
department head's submission.
I have a total.
One last one, if we
Yeah.
could. I mean, historically, you've spent $0 in 15, $61 and 33 cents in 16, 127.50 in 17, 0 in 18, and 0 in 19, and $398.20 on the recycling awareness.
Right. What I've added into that line
Yeah.
is any go to press, where you put out an RFP or you put out,
Hiring bid.
hiring,
Okay.
thing, they're $300 a pop. And that's gotta go somewhere. I've got no other line to put that in. And so anything to do with pamphlets, signs, posters, when I get those, when we did the stuff for the pandemic and got them laminated so you can put them up on the outside up by the compactors, all that cost money. In the past, I was going to Jack and Jack would do a couple of them, but when you do 6 double-sided laminate stuff, the money's gotta come out someplace. So that's a line that we're gonna be taking stuff out of, and
See, I'd rather see, and this is just me talking.
how about renaming that, recycling awareness /
Or
press?
moving those expenses into the supply line, which is a more appropriate place for them, I think.
Well, if it was me, I would have supplies, miscellaneous, and recycling awareness all in one line.
But it's not you, and
I know.
the reason why we can't do that is not a practical reason so much as a political reason. We need to focus on a little recycling awareness, so we needed a line item for that, and
Okay.
that's why that line item's there.
So if you plan to spend double what you have budgeted this year for recycling awareness,
Well,
that's great. But if there are other expenses, I'm with you. If there are things that fall that can fall into supplies, then it ought to go into the supplies line.
Yeah, I'd rather up the supply line by $500.
So what we're saying here,
if you
With
help
this
on it,
submission-
help on it, where does that go?
Yeah,
well, how is it recycling awareness?
yeah, I mean, it's,
So what we're saying here is
we're gonna double the amount of money that we spend on making people aware of recycling, but that's not what I hear you saying. That's a
Right.
line that you use to, because you don't have someplace else to put it. So, you know, what we're doing by saying we wanna double that line is, we're gonna put a lot more signs up and advertising and whatever for recycling awareness. And
Well, that's-
and that's great, if that's what we're gonna do, but if we're budgeting money in there to cover some other things, because then when we don't do the more signs, then people are saying, we gave you twice as much money this year for signs because you said you wanted it, and I don't see more signs, you know what I'm saying?
So yeah, and I think if you've overspent the miscellaneous line by $87, I think it's a lot easier sell, from my perspective, at the budget committee level, to say, okay, let's leave recycling awareness at $500 and move $500 up into miscellaneous and make that line $1,500. And that miscellaneous can cover your advertisements for jobs and all those things that you were mentioning earlier.
Okay.
So leave supplies at 2,500?
No.
Yeah, supplies stay the same at 2,500, but miscellaneous, line number 30.
Yeah, miscellaneous is gonna go from 1,000 to 500.
No, 1,500.
Recycling awareness?
Recycling
Miscellaneous
awareness.
goes up by 500, recycling awareness goes down by 500 to the same as this year.
Okay. So miscellaneous goes to 1,500.
Right, and recycling awareness,
Recycling awareness stays at 500.
right, and hopefully
Right?
we'll spend $500 on recycling awareness.
Right.
Which gives us, do we have any more to talk about? Because I'll make a motion on the total if you want.
So it's a $3,800 to minus.
Right.
I have a total with your changes of $453,949.
Oh, 59. $959, I believe, isn't it?
750.
It's 959. We're taking $3,800 out of the
Right,
budget.
959.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't need to change anything on your submission, because this is gonna go in the selectmen's request line.
Yeah.
Okay, so don't change what you put in there, we're gonna change,
Okay.
Yeah.
that's the selectmen's.
Well, I'm just making a note of it.
Yes,
I know
right.
The current up to date.
Right, but don't worry about going back there to change it. We'll,
So did you want to adjust your motion there, Jim?
Yes. It's your motion.
That was my motion now. All right, I'm gonna move that we accept the proposed budget for the solid waste disposal, 4324, a total amount of $453,959.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nice job.
Good job, Clay. Sorry
Thanks,
to
Clay.
check on that.
Oh, that's what.
You're glad you wore your flak jacket, right?
Yeah.
So we'll keep your notes.
Yeah.
Are we doing the other conservation today?
Yes.
That's fine.
Let's do
Yeah.
it. Which one do you want to do first?
Can I ask one more question?
Sure.
All right. Now, when is am I scheduled to go in front of the budget?
No, because they need to have it for review. It would have been nice if we had gotten this done last week, and then they could
We are bringing this one forward
see it tomorrow, but,
tomorrow. I talked to Gordon because we only had 4 that we reviewed before.
yeah.
So I told him whatever you approve today will also go, we're gonna give it to him tonight. Is that okay with you, or would you rather?
Yeah, that's fine with me. I think that Clay might find himself tomorrow night being told to go home because some of the members haven't had time enough to review it, but
So they're gonna look at it tomorrow night, and then maybe the next meeting they'll wanna.
They might revisit it
Yeah.
and put it on there, yeah.
it's up to you, Clay. The meeting's at 6:30 here tomorrow. Your
What I'll do
budget,
is I'll come and say, if you're ready,
yeah.
if you're ready, I'm ready, willing, and able. If you want to wait a week, I'll wait a week.
Because I thought, Chip, you would answer their questions, and then if they wanted to see him.
Yeah, ideally in the real world, that's how it's supposed to happen, but that's not the way traditionally we'd like it to happen. So they want it from the horse's mouth. Not the donkey's
Thank you,
mouth.
Clay.
You bet.
Be safe now. The next item is 4619, other conservation.
So Ed has submitted a request for $800. The biggest difference is that the gardens have gone to no-till, so that we don't have that expense.
It's gone to where, I'm sorry?
No-till, so that we're not plowing it anymore. That takes $2,000 out, basically. And she's got a detail sheet of the other expenses that she anticipates.
Go buy a tool shed, that's nice.
Yeah.
Anything from the milfoil committee?
So we budgeted 5,000 this year. Expense so far against this is $475. There's additional expense, but that's money that should be taken out of the expendable trust fund. I talked with Diane about this already, and what I propose is, once we get all the bills for the year in, then we can put the request in to get the money out of the expendable fund, rather than keep going back every whatever. I don't think we need to put $5,000 in this year.
Do you need a placeholder?
Yeah, I think we ought to put $100 in there just to hold it.
Well, I'm thinking 1,000, let's put 1,000 in,
Sure.
yeah. And, but now that we have the expendable trust fund, so we don't have to put 20 grand in every year and then use a few, I think, and in December, I will come back to the board with a request to keep that, to take the milfoil control costs out of the expendable trust fund. The only other item we have is forestry service, and that's a line that we have in there, as I remember, for when we need to have a forester come in and look at what somebody's doing on their timber cutting, that sort of thing. So I think that's something we do pretty much every year.
There's a placeholder.
Well, I think
Well-
we need to use it more often than we, I mean, I asked on
Could
one
be.
particular cut that we should have the forester go and take a look at that.
Yep,
We've also, you know, areas like Steve Wingate's conservation land, things like that.
yep, yep.
Be a great place to have
So-
a forester.
And the way that we increase that line is we start using it and spending what's there, and maybe overexpending what's there, and then the next year we say we gotta put some more money in. So
Okay,
I'll move the other conservation budget, 4619, for a total of $2,300.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Are there any other budgets we want to do?
I don't have any more.
I don't have any more.
There was only 3 for today.
Okay, so we've got 3 approved.
We have 7 total approved to go to them tomorrow, except for, well, you're not really gonna send Parks and Rec because you want him to come back. We didn't
Right.
approve that. So we're gonna have 6 to go to the budget committee.
Any action items?
Yes,
Yeah.
Okay.
landfill bids,
Pardon?
your landfill bids,
Gonna do it next week.
oh, you are?
Yeah.
Okay.
He wanted to reevaluate.
Yeah, I'm already,
Okay,
because Wayne, items?
No,
So do you
Lloyd
want,
does.
Oh, Lloyd does?
Yeah.
For what?
I know one of the action items was the Sandy Knoll Road.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna read the letter of constructed.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Ready? By vote of the Board of Selectmen of the Town of Tuftonboro on date, I don't know, date,
Last Monday, I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
in the line for the name, 'cause I didn't get their name right, is authorized to make improvements at his/her own expense to the Class 6 portion of Sandy Knoll Road. Their name will make said improvements with the direction and approval of the Tuftonboro Road agent. All improvements when made shall become the property of the Town of Tuftonboro. All improvements will be limited to the right-of-way for Sandy Knoll Road as described in the Tuftonboro Town Records. Improvements made to Sandy Knoll Road pursuant to this agreement will in no way affect or change Sandy Knoll Road's classification as a Class 6 road, and the Town of Tuftonboro does not assume any responsibility for the maintenance or upkeep of this road. Sandy Knoll Road is and will remain a public right-of-way. Anything to add? Subtract?
Excellent.
Sounds good.
All right. I'll give that to Kathy at the end of the meeting.
Okay.
now are you gonna want signature spots for all three of you, or just the chair?
No, we all need to sign
We all
it.
ought to sign it, yeah,
And then the gentleman,
because it'll go in the,
And then they'll sign it.
yeah,
yeah,
okay.
it'll go in the property file, yeah.
The next item to be discussed is Union Wharf and Lake Road. When I meet with the, or when you and I meet with the CIP committee, just give them Tyler Phillips' letter.
I think so. I mean, we're not ready to put a number on it. He's not ready to put a number on it either by the sounds of his letter.
Right.
And there are a lot of estimates going on. Hasn't got DES on board, all of it. I mean, I think Lake Street should be a no-brainer for him. I mean, it's just a bulkhead. isn't
All
it?
I have in writing is what the benchmark recommended. I think it's
Yeah.
terribly high, but that's
I mean,
all.
if Union Wharf's gonna continue to be a struggle, maybe all we get to do this year is Lake Road. I don't know. I'm just thinking we should do something.
Right, well, you know, in fairness, I want Jill and her committee to understand that it's not that we're kicking the can down the road. It's like we mentioned before, the state is kind of overwhelmed getting back to us. The other thing is they're going to ask for the next 10 years how we want to handle the police station. Okay? They'll ask us that question.
I mean, they're looking at, I know I'm starting to sound like
Go ahead.
a curmudgeon, but when we allow department heads to go in with their desires, and then they form this capital improvements program premised upon that, it really takes us out of the position of bargaining this thing. I mean, all of a sudden I'm looking at $124,000 capital reserve for engine 4. That's the first I've heard of it, looking at this.
So this is their recommendation. We make the decision.
No, I know we do.
Right.
But, I mean, the pushback we're gonna get is, well, you're $200,000 over your capital capacity. Well, what we're gonna end up doing isn't gonna be over our capital capacity.
Right.
It's just over all of these things that you keep putting in here that, you know, obviously, we did make a decision to go to $350,000 on the roads.
Right.
And I think that's a more appropriate approach to presenting this. But
So, and we've had the conversation with them about the capital reserve for the fire apparatus before. It's a good thing to do, but we gotta get some of this other stuff out of the way first. So the idea that they're gonna start one this year, they may think it's a good idea, but in terms of priority and getting it and starting it, you don't pile it on top of another year when we have some significant other work going on.
Right.
I've shared with them, rather than me come and be saying, this is what the selectmen have decided on, or this is what the selectmen have approved already, is, folks, we want you to look at it and say, what's the best way, and make your recommendation. And that committee, for the years that I've been on it, understands that it's their, those are the recommendations they make. This board is independent and makes certain decisions, and I haven't found them to be adversarial with that.
No, but I need them to be useful. That's the struggle that I always have. It's sort of like the police station. And I know their mission is different from what I think it should be, that's kind of beside the point. I'm not ready to say we've got a $62,000 a year bond payment on the police station. But there it sits. So we'll see them on Wednesday night, we'll chat it up.
Sure. Yeah,
come out.
sure. And that was based upon carryover from earlier years when the approach was, we're gonna do what we did with the fire station and you know, take out a loan to build this thing.
Right. And we're still working on grant money.
We're working on grant money, and we got some other things in the works that can help us, I think.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I would sooner think, if they're looking for worst case scenario, is to put $150,000 capital reserve on 2021.
Yep.
I mean,
yeah.
if we can't get our, ducks in a row to make the thing happen next year, we'll definitely get it done by 2021 or 2022.
Sure. Two other items I will share with CIP Tyler Phillips' letter. It's rather self-explanatory on the two capital improvement projects. And did you see my item that was sent to Lakes Region Planning about the bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure project on 171?
Maybe not.
No.
No.
Is there a bicycle infrastructure going on?
Well, yes.
To proposing one.
It's the Lakes Region Planning. I have received the attached request from Lakes Region Planning Commission, who is seeking help in prioritizing potential bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure projects on state highways, and they needed feedback by this morning.
Oh.
This year was the exception because of COVID-19 pandemic, but Camp Mara Vista for years has had an increasing touring bicycle program at their facility. It has grown to about 500 bicycles a week during warm weather months, coming and going from Canyon Valley intersection with Route 171, also known as Mountain Road. That's 1,000 bicycle trips a week in and out. We have talked about this issue in past years, and at one time we investigated working with adding bike lanes and restriping fog limits.
Automatic.
And I just,
Okay, so
as a
you
placeholder, I sent it to them.
you submitted it to-
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, good idea.
Road group meeting, we have confidential joint loss committee meeting on October 28th at 1 p.m.
That's not gonna work. Have to push it back a week if you would.
I didn't set it up, but I will talk to,
I never heard from anybody, and I'm not
they
here.
emailed me and that's what I did, printed it
All right,
out.
that's fine. You know, tell them, ask them to push it out a week if you would.
Okay, we've got a budget meeting on Tuesday night,
Yes.
Yeah.
Wednesday night.
Wednesday is CIP.
Tuesday,
Budget.
elections next week. Yeah, this week is, Tuesday is the budget,
Yes.
so I'll report back at our next meeting what happened there.
Okay. Anything under action items? We have something non-public. Selectmen's update?
The only thing I'll pass along is that our milfoil harvesting contractor was in beginning last Thursday, I believe. Divers in doing some cleanup work. They expected it to be a couple of days. I haven't heard back from them at this point, but that's the last of the work we're doing for this year.
Any updates you have?
What contract?
Yeah, I've been updating you.
Milfoil,
No,
milfoil harvest.
Sorry,
no problem.
less structured.
Is there any other business that you need, Kathy?
Just the non-public, and also, are you finally sending an email to Zach? That's the gentleman that we request grants information on, and following up on him, because I have not heard a word from him.
Yes, I say yes. What do you folks say?
Yeah, the one grant that I read about here, I'm not sure our police department qualifies for it. It's an economic development grant, but I think, yeah, keep them in the loop.
Yep.
What was it called?
It's Wedco? Is it from Wedco in Wolfboro?
Yeah, economic development grant.
Right.
Yeah.
There's also NB, Northern Boundaries, but he has to be aboard before
Right.
asking.
I thought we informed him
Yes.
he's one of us.
Huh. He's
So I guess.
supposedly working for us.
I think,
Well, didn't we ask him to draft a letter of agreement, so, and has he
You
gotten
did.
back to us?
No.
so we need to
Yeah.
reach out to him.
Yep.
Do you have any questions on my references that I checked for you on one of the companies?
No,
No?
looks straightforward to me.
Pretty simple. There was one more thing that we were talking about that I just went blank on.
And before I go public, any other information in the public that you want to bring up, either of you? Have I exhausted you?
Yep.
I am.
I'm good.
Now the public. Thank you for waiting, Joe. Good to see you.
Two questions. Do we hired an executive assistant for the police department? Is that another person on top of the girl that was there?
No,
No.
no,
Oh, well, that's the impression I got when you were talking at the table.
it's filling an open position.
The lady that did work for the police department resigned, so we're
Okay.
just filling that part-time position.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, and again, I'm trying to listen. On Sandy Knoll Road,
Yeah.
it's a petition for the town to accept the road.
No,
It's not.
no. The folks that own, some folks that own property up on Sandy Knoll Road came to us to see if they could do improvements to the road.
Okay,
And we need to structure an agreement because we're not changing the designation from a Class 6 road to anything else. And they just have to understand that they need the guidance of the road agent in their improvements. But they just want to access their land more appropriately.
so it's gonna be a right of way,
It's still a right of way.
It is. It's
Still a public
it's a
road.
class 6 road.
right?
It's a non-maintained
Right.
public road.
Non-maintained public road, okay.
Right. And
Okay,
individuals who use a non-maintained public road can make improvements to it with the permission of the Board of Selectmen.
okay. I know we're only about 20 feet apart, but I thought I heard something differently, so that's why I asked the question.
Good question.
Fine, thank you very much. That's all I got?
Okay?
Okay.
Okay, is there a motion to go into non-public?
So move.
And which one is it for
Reputation.
reputation?
Right.
The motion's been made and seconded. Should I second it? Would yes?
Marcus, and yes.
I'll be yes.
And
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.